welcome to LMLM Crochet. In this video I'm going to teach you how to crochet if you are an absolute beginner. So if this is the first time you've ever picked up a crochet hook and yarn, then this is the right video for you. Or if you just want to recap the basics, this is also the video for you. So before we get going, I'm just going to talk to you about the tools that you'll need. And of course the first thing I have in shot here is the yarn. And the best size for a beginner is going to be a DK weight. If you're not sure what that means, you can look it up when you buy your yarn. You can either ask in the shop or you can look online if you're buying online. But also it's the most common type of yarn, and normally acrylic as well, which is the yarn which you can normally get for about 99p or a pound in the pound shop or something. That's also good yarn to use if you're a beginner, because it's not too expensive, so if you make mistakes or you make something wonky, then it doesn't matter too much, you haven't wasted too much money. I'm using this cotton yarn here today to demonstrate to you, but it's got the right kind of thickness, so it's good for a beginner. The next thing you'll need is your crochet hook. So I would recommend a size between 3mm and 4mm for a beginner, because it's just easier to use that particular size. It's more common as well. Most patterns you'll find will be around a 3 or 4mm. Smaller, more fiddly, bigger, fun. So for example, there's this one here, which is a 12mm. Very fun, and also good, not for beginners, but once you kind of get past the basics, this will be nice fun for you to play with. So come on to that later. The next thing you'll need nearby when you're crocheting is scissors, or these really cool snips that I just got. I ordered in the post today, they're really fun. They arrived in the post today, sorry. And the next thing is a yarn needle, and what this is like a sewing needle, but it just has a really thick eye so that you can thread yarn through easily. And of course I've got my little kit pencil case, which is great with all my pins on it. I love that. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing you need to do is have your crochet hook in your in the hand that you use, so right hand. You're also then going to need some yarn, and to start off with you need to make a slip knot, okay? And I'm going to show you the method that I use to make a slip knot. So the first thing is you're going to want a tail of about that length behind you, and then the working yarn refers to the yarn that's still attached to the ball of yarn. So put this on your finger, hold out your finger on your left hand like this, and then with your right hand wrap that tail around to make a cross over your finger, alright, and then use this hand here to pick up the right side of the cross and put it over onto that side. Hold it down with this thumb, so it's quite awkward, but you'll get used to it. And then you pick up this piece here and you put your hook into that piece, just pulled my tail out, that's not very good. Put your hook into that piece and take your finger out and pull, and then you can pull both sides there to make it secure. You don't want it too tight, you want it so that you can do that with it, but it's still flush to the hook like that. Alright, I'll show you that again, because I did lose my tail. So you want to have a tail round the back there and the working yarn in front. You hold out your finger on your left hand, wrap this around that you've got across, pick up the piece on the right hand side and lift it to the left and hold it down with your thumb. Pick up this piece here, put your hook in, take your finger out and pull the two tails, pull until you get a knot. Then pull these bits together and you have your slip knot, okay? So you're now attached and ready to go. So the way that I hold the crochet hook, and this is so different for different people, so if this method doesn't work for you, don't feel like it's the end of the world. There might be other videos you can watch to help you. But this is the way that I learn, and this is the way that I prefer. So I hold the hook, hook facing down for now, and I hold it like this. So I have this forefinger, excuse my plaster, on the top of the slip knot like that for safety. The thumb's here, and then the rest of it I'm just holding, wrapping my fingers around like that. This hand has the yarn, the working yarn wrapped around it, and I tend to wrap it around my hand twice and then use, see that, use that finger to hold it upright, and then I would normally hold the actual knot of the slip knot between those two fingers, and then you lift up, and it's easy to crochet there. You've got lots of, the yarn is held nice and taut by this finger, nice and tight, and this hand is free to work the stitches. Alright, so I'll show you that again. So there we have the slip knot on the crochet hook. You then hold this hand with the finger on the knot like that, and hold it in your hand like so. Then you take this hand and wrap it around twice. Hold the middle finger and the thumb over the knot there, and this finger is upright holding the yarn tight, okay? Okay, to make a chain then, what you need to do is wrap the yarn around your hook. See how the hook grabs the yarn, and pull it through the slip knot that you made, okay? And now, as you can see, I'm just holding this quite loosely right now because this hand seems to be doing all the work. The hook is just going yarn over, pull through, and there's another chain. You can, if you release more yarn there, that will make your stitches bigger. So you want them relatively baggy, especially as a beginner, so it's easy to get into work into them in a second. So leave a bit of space, like about that, double the width of your crochet hook. Yarn over, pull through. You can see these two fingers here that are holding the knot. It's getting a bit wobbly up here, so I'm going to lift those two fingers up higher and hold on to the stitches that I've made so far now. And then I'm going to yarn over using the hook, pull through, yarn over, and yarn should be feeding through this hand quite nicely. Should be feeding through past that top finger there. And again, I'm going to move my fingers up higher for more security. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. These are all things that become so second nature to you once you're used to it that you'll actually find it hard to slow it down like this. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Again, moving my fingers up. So when a pattern says to you to chain a certain amount, this is what it means. This is called a chain, okay? So we won't worry about counting stitches at the moment, but the next thing I'm going to show you is how to crochet, how to do single crochets as they're called in US terminology, or double crochets, DCs as they're called in UK terminology. So what you do is your work was this way round, you're now going to turn it this way round, okay? So make sure your yarn is wrapped around your hand again, hold on to your work, and you're going to put your hook into one of those, the next available chain. So the one that you're in, you obviously can't put it in there, it's too tight. So the next available chain stitch, you're going to put your hook, and I'm holding with this finger onto the yarn there just to be a bit more secure, and I'm going to put my hook into that chain, bring through, hook with the hook there, some of that yarn, and then I've got 2 little loops on my hook there, and I'm just going to grab a bit more of this yarn and pull it through those 2 hooks, okay? Now, that has made that chain space a lot bigger, so we are going to ignore that space now because we've already put a stitch into there, and we're going to go into the next chain space with the hook. So if you put the hook facing down when you go in, it's a lot easier. If you put it up, it's not as easy, it gets stuck this way around. So go in with your hook facing down, pull through some of that yarn over, and pull through those 2 loops on your hook. Next one, so don't go into the same one again, you can see you've already got 1 stitch in there. So into the next one. If you struggle to see stitches at this early stage, counting is your best friend. So if you've counted how many chains you've made, then you need to go back through and count again to make sure you've got the same number minus that first one that we ignored, okay? So the chain that you make will always have -1, the number of single crochets into it, or double crochets in UK terminology. So finish that one off, pull through, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, into the next chain space with the hook facing down, pull through some yarn, yarn over, pull through, and I'm just going to do that to the end so you can keep watching. Into the next chain. You can see why people like crocheting, because it is very satisfying to see something growing and creating before your eyes. So it's a great skill to learn, and it's not a talent as some people say, it's a skill. It's something that you can learn and you can become better at with practice. And it's just about perseverance really, because of course it's going to be difficult at first and you're going to want to give up. But there are so many fun things you can make if you carry on. So you can see here I made the stitches tighter when I was beginning, so it's harder to get into them, which is a good lesson. It's almost like I did it on purpose, which is a good lesson to show you that it's good to keep your stitches baggier to begin with. You can see that that's curling up, that's perfectly normal, okay? It starts to get into weird shapes. That's perfectly normal, don't feel like you're doing something wrong. Now, a lot of people miss this next stitch here on a chain because it's so difficult to get into because it's tight next to the, next to the slip knot. And that can mean that your work starts to get wonky. So you've really got to make sure you get in that final stitch. And again, if you're bad at identifying when you need to go into a stitch, counting, all right? Counting is your best friend, because then you know that you have 1 fewer than you should, so you need to do 1 more. So that one's tricky, but you just give it a wiggle, hold it tight with this hand. It's not going to break, it's strong yarn, it's not going to break, you're not going to ruin the shape, so don't be afraid. I think sometimes beginners are afraid to kind of give it a wiggle and, you know, mess it around a bit, but it's okay. Just keep it tight there, keep that tight there, and you can do it. Okay? Alright, I'm going to leave that there for this tutorial. So that's how you make a chain and then do single crochet in US terminology, double crochet in UK terminology into your chain. Check out my other videos if you are ready to take it further with your training. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!